Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church, and I'm happy to be with you today. I'm continuing my theme of who is Jesus as revealed in John's Gospel, chapter 8. And today I want to talk about the first 11 verses. Now, I'm not going to read all of them because it'll take too long. And it's probably a story you've heard about anyway. This is the story of the woman caught in adultery. And you probably know the details. She was caught in adultery. I mean, in the moment of it. There's no question about it. There's no denying it. There's no kind of reframing it as to something it wasn't. And the religious leaders bring that woman to Jesus. I can only imagine the trauma and oh gosh, the feelings of being exposed that woman must have gone through. So they bring her to Jesus and they keep asking, "What do you say?" Because the law says this, the law tells us to do that. What do you say? So let's pick it up with verse 7. They kept demanding an answer. So Jesus stood up. He had been kneeling down right into the ground as they made their complaint. He stood up and he said, "All right, let the one of you who has never sinned throw the first stone." And he stooped down, started writing in the ground again. Verse 9 says, "And when the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest, until Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd with just the woman. And Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, 'Where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them stay here to condemn you?' She said, 'No, Lord.' And Jesus said, 'Neither do I. Go and sin no more.'" The religious leaders tried hard to put Jesus in a bind, catch him into something that they could accuse him of, and he'd have no way out. And I tell you, if there was ever a sure thing, this looked like it was. I've always wondered, where was the guy who did this? You can't commit adultery by yourself. But the guy's not around, just the woman. And they drag her and humiliate her. People probably kicked her as she went along, and probably said things to her face, maybe even spit on her, something like that. And they throw her down in front of Jesus and says, "All right, you tell us what we should do." Waiting for the opportunity to pounce and say, "We gotcha." But he doesn't give them that opportunity. Instead, it says he kneels down, writes something in the ground. We don't know what he wrote. Something they recognize, though. And they kept pushing and pushing and pushing. "What do you say? What do you say? What do you say?" So you can envision this circle of angry men around this woman who's laying in the ground, and Jesus looks up at them. He stands up and he said, "Okay, you who have never committed a sin, you throw the first stone." And he gets back down to writing in the ground. Well, Moses' law said she should be stoned. But Jesus turns the thing around. He re-explains, if you will, the law of Moses. And the passage tells us one by one, starting at the oldest, they walked off, leaving only her and the crowd who was watching. And Jesus simply says, "Where are your accusers?" She said, "None here." Now, Jesus doesn't just let her go. He says, "I won't condemn you either. Now go and don't continue sinning." In other words, don't do this again. Now, I don't know what would have happened if she got drugged a second time for the same offense. But what Jesus is saying is, I have the power to not condemn, and I'm going to use it. If there ever was a time when it was a sure thing, this was it. And Jesus turned it around and made it something far more important than the act of adultery. Now, in today's world, I don't think we would think of stoning people to death for adultery, but there are places in the world where that probably would happen, probably does happen. But Jesus shows that he is a person of compassion and forgiveness. Now, I don't know what happened to the Pharisees who were trying to trick him. I guess they went off and did their thing and found another opportunity somewhere. But for the woman who knew she was guilty, and you and I know what we have done. We may not admit it to anybody, and maybe we haven't committed adultery, but we have sinned. And Jesus' comments were, well, whoever has never sinned, then you go ahead and throw the first stone. We are all in the same boat, really. We've let God down. We've sinned. But instead of being condemned, we are offered new life, just as this lady was offered new life. So when we go back to the first day, on Monday, when we asked the question, the people said, who are you? Who is Jesus? He's the one who, even though he has the right and the authority to condemn you and me, chooses not to. He chooses the path of forgiveness. And then he says, don't do it anymore. It's not do whatever you want to do. Don't sin. And you and I get to walk off, our heads held high, knowing we have another opportunity to please God. Will you think about that? I hope you look for opportunities to please God. And I hope you are more like this lady who walks off with forgiveness than you are like the Pharisees who accused her that walk off with anger. Anger never does anything positive. Well, have a great day. If you need something that we can help with, just give us a call. If you have a prayer concern, let us know. We'll do everything we can as fast as we can to help meet your needs. Thanks so much for listening. I got 2 more days to talk about some more about who is Jesus in John chapter 8. So I hope you'll be back. I hope you'll listen again. Take care. I'll talk to you again.